We need some way for WebEx Teams to notify our CRM app when account balances are requested. We'll need to set up a webhook for that, along with a chatbot. I'm currently at the developer.webex.com New Apps homepage, which provides 3 main workflows. We want to create a bot, so let's click that button first. We need to name the bot, and I'll call it GlobalBot. The bot also needs a username, which needs to be globally unique from all other bots. Let's use GlobalBot again to keep things simple. The box turns green and tells us that GlobalBot at webex.bot is available, which is great. Scrolling down, we need to pick an avatar, so I'll just pick one of the stock images. You can upload a custom avatar if you like, but let's not waste time on that today. Scrolling down more, we must add some kind of description for our bot. I'll add something quickly. With all of this complete, let's click Add Bot at the bottom. The word bot might be confusing because we really haven't created a chatbot yet. All we've done is create another virtual user who can access the API. The bot effectively has a permanent access token, but no interactive logic. If we write a script that uses this token to post a chat message, something I demonstrated in a previous course, the message would come from the bot, not from me. If we scroll down, this page just reflects back all the information we entered already, giving us the opportunity to make changes or delete the bot. In addition to the access token, the only other piece of new information is the bot ID, which doesn't matter much right now. Be sure to copy the access token and keep it safe, as we'll be using it to access the API next. Let's head over to the shell. Many of these files should look familiar as they make up the main CRM app source code, except there is a new webhook directory. Let's navigate there. I've written a few scripts here, a mix of Python and Bash, to manage webhooks in WebEx Teams. Remember, we need to create a webhook that tells WebEx Teams to notify our CRM app whenever someone talks to GlobalBot. Let's check out the add-webhook.py script to start that process. We begin by importing the built-in OS library as well as requests. We'll be using OS to consume environment variables later in the script. Let's jump into the main function. First, let's define the generic API path so we can reference it later. WebEx Teams used to be called Spark a few years back, and I expect the API base URL will change soon. Next, let's read in the value of the environment variable named WT API token. In a previous course, I used a personal 12-hour temporary token to demonstrate posting a chat message. This time, we'll export the bot's API key before we run the script instead of using my personal API key. If we run the script without exporting this specific environment variable, let's raise an error and terminate the program. Assuming the API key is defined, we construct our headers based on the screenshot. Just like FTD and several other APIs, we pass in the token as an authorization bearer token and specify that we want to receive JSON in response. Before adding a webhook, we need to collect the person ID of the bot. This is not the same as the bot ID we saw in the web browser a few minutes ago, and yes, I realize this is confusing. We send a GET request to the people resource and specifically query for an email equal to the bot's unique hostname. This asks the question, what are the personal details for GlobalBot at webex.bot? If the request fails, let's raise an HTTP error. I've commented out the debugging line, but let's explore what this output looks like using the getBot.json reference file. The API returns a dictionary with a variety of user data, including the person ID, associated emails, name, and type. Specifically, we need to grab the ID field from the first and only element in the item list. We can accomplish this using basic Python list and dictionary access methods, then store the string in the bot ID variable. Next, we need to create a new webhook on WebEx Teams to tie it into the CRM app. The webhook data dictionary is the HTTP request body that we need to send. The webhook has 4 required fields as indicated by the API docs. These include the name, target URL, resource, and event. I've also added an optional filter which targets our specific bot. Combined together, this webhook is saying, whenever the global bot is mentioned in a newly created message, send a webhook to the target URL. The filter ensures that the CRM app doesn't receive a webhook for every message, but only those that target the global bot. Next, we issue a post request to the webhook's URL, including the proper post headers and webhook data we just reviewed. As we often do, let's raise an HTTP error if the post request fails. At this point, we've successfully added the webhook, so let's explore the JSON response in the add webhook JSON reference file. Most of these values are things we specified when creating the webhook, like the name, target URL, etc. The key piece of new information is the ID at the top. If we want to modify or delete this webhook, we'll need to specify that ID in the corresponding put or delete requests, respectively. Let's grab the ID value and store it in a variable named webhook ID. Then, we'll print out the target URL and webhook ID just as visual confirmation that the webhook was added successfully. Before we run the script, let's be sure to export our WT API token environment variable. Alright, that should work. We should be able to run the script now to successfully add this webhook. As expected, we've created a new webhook to our CRM app and now have a webhook ID to confirm it was added. I've also written a few bash scripts to handle collecting and deleting webhooks quickly. Let's explore the get webhook script first. Rather than write a Python script, you can use simple bash scripts to simplify API operations using curl, which I covered in a previous course. I'm sending a GET request to the webhook's URL, which provides a list of all currently configured webhooks. We can use this to double check that our webhook exists. Let's run this script, keeping in mind the output won't be pretty. This might be useful if you need to modify or delete the webhook later if you forgot to record the ID after the webhook was created. In the next clip, we'll update our CRM app to properly accept this webhook, ultimately creating the interactive chatbot logic.